Hi, in this video we're going to talk about how human nature gets between you and the technology on which you are spending so much money. What does that have to do with this giant cat that I'm holding? This is Chewy. Chewy is my daughter's Maine Coon. He pretty much rules the house, but he can deliver a great message about how human nature and cat nature affect us in our daily lives. You see his tail just swish right up in front of you? That's his signal that, man, if you don't put me down soon, I'm going to hurt you. I've learned this about him. He didn't say it. He didn't look. There he did it again. He didn't look at me. But he's telling me, you're on the clock. Huh, buddy? See, he won't even give me a kiss. Chewy has to have drops in his ears about once a month. Those of you who own cats and dogs know what I'm about to say next. Whenever you have to give them medicine, take them to the vet, what happens? They disappear. How do they do it? I mean, I think he's looking at me in a kind of a scary way now. I think Chewy's a mind reader. He could be asleep on my daughter's bed. My wife and I can whisper in the back of the house, it's time for Chewy's medicine. And he's gone. He's like smoke. Poof. I don't know if he can feel my footsteps as I'm walking toward the medicine cabinet and realizes there's something different. I'm so afraid that he can read my mind that I try to think about other things. Baseball, hot dogs, apple pie, Chevrolet, whatever. None of it works. He disappeared. Uh-oh, time to put him down. Anyway, thanks for the help, Chew. Get out of here. Oh, what? Wait a minute. What is that? Cigarette lighter. He's probably got cigarettes hidden around here somewhere too. But anyway, let's talk about human nature. If you ignore human nature in selling, you are digging yourself a huge hole that you've got to dig out of, and it's not necessary because human nature is so easy to understand. You've just got to spend a little time on it. Whenever you meet someone new, they basically use three things to size you up. To decide if they trust you, to decide if they like you. Those three things are body language, tone of voice, and the words that you use. Now these things have long been weighted. There's values placed on them. And so when you're in front of somebody, they're going to size you up 55% will come from your body language. 38% they will get from your tone of voice. And only a mere 7% will they use your words in order to decide if they like you and if they trust you. Now ask yourself, have you been thinking about it the other way around? Have you been working on what words to say? We all do. All new salespeople did it and do it. Well, some salespeople don't think about anything like that. They just wing it. Boy, is that a mistake. But anyway, if you spend a lot of time on the words, you're really spending time on the wrong thing because it accounts for only 7%. And here's how it hurts you with technology. Most real estate salespeople use email, websites, telephone, or some form of face-to-face. Yeah, I know people send out cards, recipe cards and things of that nature. And that'll fall in here too. But let's take email. If the customer is going to size you up based on body language, tone of voice, and words, well, with email, we know that that's out of the question. So, no. With email, do they get your tone of voice? No. With email, do they get your words? Yes. So you got 7%. 7 measly percent. And here's the thing. It's probably less than that. Because this 7% is based on you being face to face in front of them. Since very few people are trained writers, since very few people can write in a manner in which the reader reads what the intention was, this number is probably much lower than that, but we'll leave it at 7%. So if you're using email, you're 7%. Let's talk about your website. When I first got into real estate, and bear in mind, I set a rookie record with the largest independent real estate firm in the state of Florida, And I didn't know anybody in this town. I was a corporate refugee. Got here and got fed up with the corporate world and said, I'm out of here. My wife had a new baby on the way. I wasn't about to work 60 hours a week in corporate America and have a child. I got into real estate and everybody said, are you crazy? You don't know a soul in this town. And I didn't. But anyway, but they kept telling me, you got to have a website. You got to have a website. You got to spend all this money and have this glorious website. I didn't, but I still sold $7,035,000 my very first year. Website. Do they get your body language? No. Do they get your tone of voice? No. Do they get your words? Yeah, I guess kinda, sorta, maybe. Now if you put some video on your website, you can capture these other two, but you need to do it well. So we'll say 7% here. Alright, telephone. Telephone is much better than the other two. Do they get your body language? No. Do they get your tone of voice? Yes, they do. And actually, 38, that's 38 people. I'm a great salesperson and sales trainer. I'm not a great handwriter. 38% tone of voice. Actually, when you're on the telephone and telephone only, tone of voice value goes way up to about 70%. What they hear on the phone in your tone will account for whether they trust you and like you. Do they get your words? Yes, they get your words. So here we have 45% if we just use this scale. So we're already better off on the phone, 7%, 7% versus 45%. But let's look what happens when you allow the customer to use all of their senses that they've honed over millions of years. People, a couple of hundred years of civilized living is not going to offset millions of years of human nature. It's just not. So if you get face to face with the customer or the prospect, you get to let them use everything. And that equals 100%. Does that make sense? It should. If it doesn't, think about it. Watch this video over and over and over again, because once you understand the extreme advantage you have by allowing the prospect to see your body language, to witness your tone of voice, and then hear your words, your ability to capture them as a customer goes through the roof. Now, it's got to be done right. You've got to understand their human nature. You've got to present yourself in such a way that it will appeal to all of these things. And that's something that I'm going to teach you step by step. As long as you just stay with me throughout these videos, you'll learn how to put this into action. It works. It's like having your own gold mine. Now, let's talk about one other thing. In my other videos, I have talked about visuals. I've talked about imagery, how important imagery is to your presentations when you're in front of a client. In this video, I gave you two imageries. That's not even a word, I don't think. But you get the point. I used my daughter's cat, and I used a cigarette lighter. Both of those are things that will stick in your head. Bear in mind, people always think in pictures. So if you're going to use email, try to give them imagery. Try to give them something that they can see in their mind that they can use to help them like you and trust you. On your website, use imagery. Imagery that will help them to like you and trust you. On the telephone, talk in pictures. Tell stories. Stories are the best way on the telephone to capture the customer's imagination, to get them to buy in, to get them to relate to you. Just like my cat story a few minutes ago. Raise your hands. All of you who own cats and dogs, could you relate to that? Of course you could. It was a cat story. You've got stories. When you're on the phone with people and an opportunity to tell a story comes up, use it. Paint a picture in their mind. It works. I'm Ellery Channing, and thank you.